The next category, the New Voice Award for young journalists who have made a substantial contribution to international journalism during the year. Let's hear more about each of them.
Courtney Weaver, Financial Times. Courtney Weaver is the FT's 28-year-old Deputy Moscow Bureau Chief. As Ukraine fell apart, she was one of the first foreign correspondents to make it to Crimea. At the end of the year, she delivered the last word on how and why the Russian takeover occurred in eastern Ukraine.
On the ground, even the most die-hard Russia supporters are being forced to reconcile their love for the motherland. At a cafe I visit, the bill is tallied in both Ukrainian and Russian, while supermarkets have separate queues for the different currencies. A prominent local businessman, once jubilant about Ukraine's future, now sits sullenly in his office, trying to sort out the endless challenges that are pushing his company into the red. It seemed like we were going somewhere, he sighs. And now we've ended up in a totalitarian country.
Matt Sandy, Al Jazeera America. 30-year-old Matt Sandy reported for Al Jazeera America from Brazil, exploring topics often neglected in the media. In Goiânia, a city where 57 homeless people were killed in 2 years, he found evidence implicating local police.
Marcos, the boy who was like a little bird, died in his sleep. His cardboard deathbed sat under the concrete awning of a discount supermarket. His killer had approached at 3 a.m., pulled out a handgun, and shot him once in the left side of his forehead. In a 2-year period, homeless people in Goiânia were murdered at a rate roughly 10 times higher than in the rest of Brazil. Many who live on the streets sleep during the day and walk at night. It's safer that way. Here, in a city where, as one drifter put it, no one sees and no one knows, only the bravest dare to ask who is doing the killing and why.
Katarina Vettori, freelance. Katarina Vettori was nominated for her work for France 24 and CCTV Africa. She's a 31-year-old freelance videographer and broadcast journalist based in Ghana, her first foreign posting. In 2014, Katarina was in Liberia when the country recorded its first case of Ebola.
Eric was a government nurse.
Oh, okay, wow. This was a certificate from the high school.
He worked at an Ebola clinic in northern Liberia. We'd interviewed him at the clinic on a previous trip.
All these are his.
But between then and now, Eric died from Ebola.
Yeah, and there it was there. The last person we spoke to that day. Eric Tamba, nurse, saw first ever patient in Liberia.
Oliver hadn't seen Eric in more than a year. He wanted to watch our interview.
Can you try to describe to me what it's like to try and work in that?
Okay, to be quite frank, I have not been in a fire furnace. But from what I'm doing here, I think it is similar.
And now to present this award, I'm absolutely delighted to introduce somebody who has changed the domestic landscape in Britain in the last couple of years, or has done a great deal to change it, and that is by Revelation. Revelation that was initially cancelled by the BBC when she exposed Jimmy Savile's paedophilia, a film that was only shown after his death. And she then set about for a different channel, Channel 4, for Dispatches. She set about outing Cyril Smith. So I'm very delighted to welcome Liz McKean to make this presentation.
So just a warning, it's going to be a crashing disappointment after an introduction like that. It is a real pleasure to be here tonight as an older voice in the media to say a really big congratulations to 3 much newer voices for some outstanding work that impressed the judges and gave them a hard decision. The winner for the New Voice Award, Katarina Vettori.
Oh, Lord. Did you see the fear in my eyes? My husband just before said, just make a joke about the music if you win. I thought, Jon Snow's already done that twice. I'm so pleased that they decided to take that little bit from a film that we did after about 4 or 5 months of working in Liberia. Eric, who you saw very briefly in that interview, was a nurse at an Ebola treatment unit in northern Liberia, and he was incredibly passionate and wanted people to know about the contribution that local healthcare workers had made. And to be honest, it was one at the time that wasn't really being reported that much because of, well, for a long time it sort of felt quite lonely out there as a freelance journalist with the outbreak starting in March, and for a while we were sort of looking around thinking, when is everyone else going to start getting interested in this story? And Eric really wanted his story to be heard, and unfortunately when we went back to try and speak to him again, he had died in the course of helping people. So I'm sure he would be absolutely delighted, as well as his brother Oliver, who allowed us to show that footage of him, to know that his contribution, his words have been heard by you all. So thank you very much.